What's up, everybody? Welcome to the High Level Husband Podcast. I'm Tommy McAllister. Guys, you're in for a treat today. I got one of my favorite people ever that I've ever worked with in my program. So sorry, guys, who are listening to this, we're in the program. You got your game to step up. But this is Paul Hansen.
Hey, guys.
He's from Alabama. He came out to spend some time with us in Vegas to see what God has for him next in store. But he came to our program, and you got your life changed, brother, which was awesome. I mean, it's only a small part of us, but mainly what God's doing. But guys, we're titling this podcast that, yes, maybe it is actually your wife's fault. And we're going to jump in on that, brother, and we're going to spin that in some multiple different ways. But I'm just kind of love to kind of tell the guys a little bit about where you were at and what you were just sharing with me of like where your marriage was at in that time, of what God was using Ashley and her faults to squeeze you to get God, to get your attention, to get you to where you need to be in those times.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he had to take me through that breaking process, and it really had a lot to do with using her to reflect what it was that was wrong in me. I mean, there were days that I would come home and she's just, always telling me, "Oh, I'm tired." You wouldn't get a smile, you would put out the little clip where Diane would run up to you when you came home and give you a hug or something. And it's just like, man, that's what I want. And just like, I was getting the exact opposite of that. And it's like, why won't she do this? Why isn't she doing that? And knowing what I know now, the whole time she's on the other side of this going, why won't he do this? Why won't he do that? And it was just, she was being a reflection of the man that I was, or really wasn't at the time. I wasn't supporting her emotionally. I wasn't supporting her spiritual walk. And so she was going to be emotionally drained by the time I got home, because she had nobody else to really talk to. She couldn't get these feelings out that she had. And she was bearing the brunt of leading our family spiritually. I mean, she was the one that was, quoting scripture to the kids, making sure everybody got up and went to church. There would still be mornings I'd be like, hon, we had a long night. Just how about we watch, on the TV this morning? I know how much you hate that. That's where we were. And she was taking on that burden. And so, of course, when I walked in the door, there wasn't that joy or anything. She was showing me exactly what I was giving her. She was showing me all of my flaws by, I'm tired, I'm not in the mood, no real excitement that I was home or anything like that. And it was this vicious cycle. And it was really when I started the course and went back to just get started and look at, okay, how am I going to get closer to God? Really starting there and focusing on that. And of course, that's the word. Got to read the Bible. You got to know what God's saying. And then you go to him in prayer with it. And you spend that solitude time and he starts working on you. You spend that time working on yourself. I was pretty much on point physically, but I was working out for all the wrong reasons. I was going in there angry, working out.
I know that.
I mean, it was going in there with a whole different, just killer mindset, instead of, okay, let me take care of my temple so that I can give more to my wife, that I can give more to my kids, that, I'm making sure I'm keeping this on point for the Holy Spirit that I am blessed to have. And once I kind of changed that mentality, the workouts became better. And oddly enough, guess what? My wife, who hated working out with me, suddenly it's like, hey, are you coming to the gym today? And she'd be pushing me at the gym some days, man. And, after that, I start stepping up and it's like, okay, I'm going to start leading prayers at the dinner table. I'm going to start, making sure that I'm praying with the kids. I'm even going to start that awkward part of praying over my wife. And it was awkward. It really did. It did not click until after the marriage advance. And she became fully receptive to it. And it's like God lifted that awkwardness off. It took that constant, just kind of go at it. And as I fixed those things in myself, my marriage took off, man. Like, I love coming home now. Like, I'm going to put my 40 hours in, and I want to go home and see my wife and kids. I can't wait to walk in that door now. And guess what? She turns around, she smiles at me. She'll run up and give me a hug. I'll get a kiss when I come in the door. I mean, it's those things that it was her fault because it was my fault. I wasn't being the leader of my household, and I was taking everything that I should have been doing and I put it on her, and she was pointing out those holes in my life that I had to take care of.
Yeah, it's her fault that you have a great marriage now, because if she didn't go through that, if she wasn't feeling the things that she was feeling and expressing and all these other aspects, then you don't get changed. One of the things I always say is like, you're too good to be great. Right. And that's where a lot of people, right. It's when Jesus says you're lukewarm, I will spit you out. Podcast listeners who listen to this know I speak that often, where that's what things where your marriage was at. Like, it wasn't in a terrible spot. There wasn't no infidelity. There wasn't all these other things, but it was just so lukewarm. It was going to be too good to be great. And so you would have never had what you have now. And just like, because you guys came out, gosh, that was May. And so now it's July, to the marriage advance. And what's funny about this is you guys who listen to this, the very first night, I sat down and ate dinner with you guys out by the pool.
Yeah.
And then I told Diane later, I go, I think Ashley doesn't like me. And then all weekend I felt like she was mean mugging me all weekend and all of that. But what I seen
she was mad at me, by the way.
But the cool part about what I'm home bringing that up for is she walks in the house today, I see a different glow about her. So not only 100%. Are you getting that person when you walk in your house, I see it now. I can see these different things. That's creating disciples in those aspects. And so you have these aspects of your marriage because of her fault. And if it doesn't change, it doesn't change. I was talking about, I was telling you about the verse where Paul talks about, when he was praying for the thorn to be removed from his side of God, please remove this thorn. He prays 3 times and God says, no, I'm not going to remove it, for my grace is sufficient, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Mm-hmm. Sometimes our wife, guys, I want you guys to listen to this right now, what I'm about to say. Our wife will be our thorn, and God is allowing that to be your thorn. So you have that thorn. So you finally go and become the man that God's created you to be on the backside of things. So you don't walk in the house and have to be like, is she doing these things? Or is this what's really going on, and dead on the inside of that aspects. But like you said, good kids, mm-hmm. wife who's still going to church, still praying, doing these things,
not fighting. I mean,
not doing any of that
nice
stuff.
House, good job, all the perfect little things you would see from a Facebook profile standpoint. Man, we were solid
in all of the aspects that men would say you are winning in life and all of that. And now your scales have been removed from your eyes, mm-hmm. and seeing what is actually possible in life. And this is, guys, where I want to encourage you is that's where a lot of you guys are at. Some of you guys aren't even in terrible spots. You're in that too good to be great spot, but that is actually dying. And there's so much more on the table. So rejoice that your wife's not sleeping with you. Rejoice that she's not greeting you at the door, because that means there's something wrong. And yes, your wife might be the devil. I'm not saying Ashley was for you, but in those moments, that is because we are missing the mark. There's still meat on the bone that God needs us to do to be able to get there. And you're finding that.
Right. I mean, it was just like our sin was complacency with where we were at. We were that too good to be great. It's like, okay, well, we're not quite fighting. We're still saying I love you. We're still sleeping in the same bed. Kids are doing good. It's just like we had all that. And it's like we would have these little, disagreements or something. It would be she would shut down. I would just huff and run out to the garage or something like that. And I wasn't really addressing the issues that was leading to all that. And if it wasn't for her, showing me those flaws, if God just said, you know what, I'm going to make this better, I wouldn't have changed. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair today right now if he had just said, you know what, I'm going to make this better, because it wouldn't have forced me to change who I was, to really, just go, all right, God, you know what, I have to submit to you. Like, I understand that I can't do this on my own, that it's not about me. There is nothing in my power that's going to turn this around. I need you to come into my life and help me find what I'm missing. And it was really, we talk about the order all the time, God's self. And for me, and I was telling you earlier, like, I feel like that's, 70% of the whole thing. And it's just this constant back and forth, this refinement, not having that thorn removed and just going back and forth until you finally just get pounded into that man you're supposed to be. And then you're ready to go out and work on the marriage. And after that, when you are who you're supposed to be in God, it's marriage, kids, business. It flows straight down. And I feel like that's where, we can miss the mark sometimes. I think it's real easy to come in, you get that initial high, okay, like, I'm doing these things. Okay, well, I'm reading the Bible, I'm working out, I've been listening to podcasts to read a book. All right, I'm ready to go to this next one. And then it's like, well, this didn't work. Why is she acting this way? Why am I getting this? It's because you haven't fixed yourself, man. Like,
takes time.
You got to go through that. And I mean, I went through that pruning process too. I mean, it wasn't just like smooth selling. Like, I came in and did these things and suddenly it was just like, hey, we sell right off into the marriage that we have right now. No, it definitely was not easy. I mean, even coming out, you said you thought Ashley hated you. She was mad at me because she thought I was bringing her out to like a couples counseling session or something like that. And she's like, well, I thought everything was good. Why is he doing this? I can't believe he's taking me out to this. But I hadn't communicated to her like really what I had been doing. She didn't understand that. And once she finally understood, once we, had this quality time, and I was like, well, here's what I've been doing. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, she thought it was the sweetest thing ever. She's like, why didn't you ever tell me this? And it's like, okay, well, obviously I need to up my quality time game. And that's one of those things we gained coming back from it. I mean, we always thought we communicated and talked well, but it was so surface level. It really was. And it was through those little pruning moments. It's like God showing me, okay, here's how you dig a little deeper. Here's how you dig a little deeper. Here's how you don't always make it heavy all the time. Here's where, now we're at the point we look back in our lives. Man, can you believe we used to act this way? Can you believe we used to do this? Like, here's what I used to do and what I was thinking. She's like, here's what I used to do. I was thinking, it's like, man, let's not go back there. Bringing those things up, but being able to talk about it in a way where it's loving to each other. And it's like, it's gone from, just having like my group, my buddies in the school app, refining me, iron sharpening iron, that I have my wife sharpening me now too. I have her pushing me. Like, I have a lot to live up to because she knows the Bible very well. Like, she can spit verses like I wish I could. And so of course, I gotta step my game up. Like, I've got her pushing me there. And it's a great place to be in because now that, I've fixed, we're going to say most of the holes. I know there's still work to be done. But now that we've done that to where I can come into the marriage with that full cup and pour into her, she's reflecting back now what I'm giving her. I'm giving her the emotional support. I'm being the spiritual leader of my family. I'm giving her spiritual support. We're having those conversations where she's not questioning what's going on in my mind. I'm not questioning what's going on in her mind. Like, we have that connection now. And those are the things that I was lacking beforehand. And, it's like you said at the beginning, it was her fault because it was my fault.
Yep. Dude, I just love listening to it. I listen to this, just what's been happening. And because there's so many men who are in these spots, and then now you get to these spots with where you're at. But I love what you were talking about. You were going through these steps, but you had to finish the process. And that's the process of sanctification of walking with God. It's like so many people who they'll read a marriage book, they'll go to a marriage conference, they'll go to like a retreat, or they'll go to some counseling with their pastor, and they're like, why isn't this working? And it's because the sanctification process is a day in and day out, a long-term process to change our heart. I can't just go down to the local MMA gym and sign up and take a class for a month and be like, sweet, dude, put me in the UFC. Why am I not in the UFC? Like, dude, you guys got to give me a fight in the UFC. Bro, you've only been doing the class for a month. You're not ready for a world-class fight yet. Same thing in your marriage. You're not going to have a world-class marriage until you do world-class things for a long period of time and go through that process. And I'll say it for the billionth time, but it's just, that's why people who win the lottery go bankrupt. 87%, I think, is what the number is, because they were not ready for that money yet. That's why God will hold out until you're ready in that. And so now it's like, it's just so awesome what you're saying. Your wife is pruning you still. She's challenging you still. It is your wife's fault. God has given us our wives to help sanctify us, to be those things. And as we sanctifying her, she'll also be a sub part of our mission. She will then become submissive, sub part of our mission to help us go do these things. But until then, she ain't following you if you're not a followable guy. And guys, I want to just let you know this. If your wife is not, if you think it's her fault and she's just the terriblest person in the world, please take ownership, look in the mirror. And I promise you, you just don't know what is wrong. And this was, for example, so, and maybe we here in a little bit, we'll go through this, and you might be the best person to actually go back and forth with on me, because it's easy with Diane to do it, because everybody's gonna be like, well, of course she agrees with you. Of course. I put out a post yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like, I'm rating these things from 1 to 10, right? Dude, so on point with like how important those things are. the comments in there were like, this dude's an idiot. Oh yeah, sure, those things don't matter. Oh yeah, like those things. And it's like, yeah, they don't matter. The things that actually matter, but nobody knows this. And so that's a lot of you guys out there listening. You don't know what you actually don't know. You didn't know what you didn't know until you knew what you knew. And then because you knew what you knew, you got to see the new you, and you got to see a new wife in those aspects.
I had the world telling me what my orders should be. Hey, you got to put your marriage first. It's always got to be about your marriage. And then you got to worry about your kids. Like, you got to take care of them.
That's your purpose in life.
And then if you got any time, you take care of yourself. Other than that, just be a man and suck it up. Happy wife, happy life, all the little sayings there, which are just absolutely horrible. And then somewhere out to the side here, we have God.
Yeah.
And that's how my order was for the longest time. And it doesn't work that way. I think you made a great point talking about MMA training, and like, you're not ready to go into that fight. And you just got to pray God doesn't say, all right, I'm going to put you in that ring. And I feel like he does that sometimes. He's like, you think you're ready, bro? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll show you how ready you are.
Are you ready to listen to me now? And I feel like, that's where, some people end up. It's just, they're ready to go. I heard something, I'm trying to remember what it was on, but I heard, Moses went before he was sent. When he first thought, okay, I'm going to be the savior of the Israelites, I'm going to get them out. And he goes, he murders one of the Egyptians, and, everybody suddenly hates him, and he has to go into exile for 40 years. That was where he tried to start something before he was ready to. Mm-hmm. And you see that time and time again where people are having to be groomed into those roles in the Bible. And we're talking 40 years. Hopefully it doesn't take anybody 40 years that's really dedicated to it. But that's what these guys waited for. And you have to have that kind of patience. You have to be willing to just hone your skills, to really, dig into it, take that ownership, and realize that, okay, if you spent 20 years digging this hole, it's probably going to take longer than 4 weeks to get yourself out of it.
Yes.
Because Ashley and I, we feel like we had a pretty quick story as far as that goes, but what we went through, our pain, where we were, where we are, it's not the same for anybody. Our story is not your story. It's not anybody else's story. It's our own. And like I said, we're still going through that. I don't believe the race is finished. I'm still running that. But
it will be until, that's what Paul says, I just want to finish the race. It'll be until the day you die.
Right. And so it's not just running after the marriage and all right, I got to keep working on this. It's working on myself so I can show up for the marriage. Mm-hmm. It's not my job to fix. And I think that's another part that a lot of guys get sucked into, is we want to be fixers. I love working with tools. For me, when it came to a disagreement, an argument, I was the guy, boom, let's have it out right now. Let's just go ahead and get this out. Let's get it taken care of. And she would shut down and wouldn't want to talk, and I'd get frustrated. And that's just how it was, because I wanted to fix it. Work on the marriage, work on her, instead of looking in the mirror bro, what are you doing? This isn't what you should be. Yelling at her and forcing her to try and fix something is not going to solve anything. Yep. Even if you solve that little problem right there, right then, there's going to be that resentment that just builds, that somebody is going to internalize, that's never going to come out until you work on yourself and you get to that point where they feel comfortable sharing those feelings with you, and you can accept it and own it. Use it for good. I'm pretty sure that was one of the lessons I remember going through. Mm-hmm. It's all these different things. Okay, how can I use this? How can I use this lesson? What is it God taught me in this moment that I can bring into the marriage?
Yeah. No, so good on all of that, bro, because our wives are complicated, and our lives are complicated. And if we can fix these situations with our wife, like you're saying, I can argue with her, we can fix it, and it can be over with. But nothing changed because you didn't change, right? So we're always going to have the same result, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. So we're always going to get the same result. This might be gone for today, but it'll come back next week, and then we'll have to deal with that, and then it'll come back, because I'm still the same exact person, and she's still the same exact person. So we're going to get the same exact results time after time after time after time. But if we become a new person and changed and grown and sanctified and with God and all these other aspects, then we're not going to get the same situations aren't going to keep arising again and again. It'd be I said no to ice cream tonight, and I did it. But if I'm not a person who can easily say no, I'm eventually going to give in again, time and time again. I'm just going to remain overweight, right? And so that's why America doesn't have a weight gain problem. It has a weight regain problem. Marriage doesn't have a fighting problem. It has a continuous fighting problem, right? Like on those issues.
Everyone wants that GLP-1 shot for it to fix it, and it's like, all right, well, you're good for the next month or so, and then you didn't fix the root cause. You didn't change your habits.
And you didn't fix the heart issue.
Right. You didn't fix your heart issue.
And that's what it is, right? That's why I always have a problem with the lap band surgery. And I had one guy, and I rarely read my comments, but this one guy was like going hard on him. He's like, I used to like your stuff until I saw you say something about lap band surgery. And my wife tried everything and she never could lose weight. And then she got the lap band. I'm so proud of her. And I'm like, well, why couldn't she lose the weight? I'm like, and it's like, because bro, the lap band didn't do it, let her lose weight, but without her having to do the work.
Right.
And that's just what you become a rich if somebody gives you all the money and then you lose it. Right. And then so it's kind of like what's going on in our country right now. Some people say, well, you're taking from the poor and you're giving to the rich. The rich aren't rich. Because they're ready to be rich. They had to do things to do it. And so people go, well, they inherited the money. You can go ahead and inherit that money right now. And I promise you, you'll lose all that money. Right. It will be gone.
If I inherited millions of dollars right now, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Right.
I'm not ready for that.
Right. But if you slowly work for it, right. And the same thing with the marriage, you slowly will grow together and it'll grow to what it's supposed to be. Because of that, it becomes a beautiful process to have it. Was just the MMA thing, right? Like when you were saying it back at me, it was cool. Yeah. It's like, what's cool is God will put you in that fight. And if you get in that fight, what's going to happen? You're going to get submitted. What's God trying to do in your life? Get you to what?
Get you to submit.
Yes.
I mean,
so that's what he's trying to do. We need to submit. And then it becomes fun. And I think that's what you were touching on earlier when we were talking about like how things are becoming so much easier now because you're just surrendered to all of these issues and situations in your life.
Yeah. And I mean, it does. It just makes it easier. Like there's the anxiety I used to have, the fear that I used to have, the eggshells I used to walk on, all of these things, it feels, the best way I can describe it is like I've been released from it. Like, these are the things I prayed, God, these aren't for me to take on. Like, I lift these up to you, remove these things from my life. And it gives you that sense of peace where I can't tell you the last time I was just really anxious about something. Or I was really upset or I was really fearful about something. Like, the devil will still poke and prod. I mean, he sees what's going on in our life. And I mean, I know he doesn't like it. And so he's going to try and have those attacks, but it's being disciplined, to kind of take it back, kind of the lap band surgery or something. Like I can think of 4 people off the top of my head that had it. At least one of them is still good, going strong, even though he's been off of it for a long time, because he got in the habit of going to the gym every day. He changed his diet. You can see that, okay, that was something that kind of jump started. It was a little bit of a kickstart for him. But he isn't the way he is now just because he had that and say, I'm good, and went out and shoved a pizza in his face.
Yeah.
It's because he's still eating well. It's because he's still doing the work and doing those things. And that's what we have to do in our life. These little attacks that, Ashley and I'll see coming in our family and all that, even just, the past couple of days before coming out here, like we could see them coming. Even this morning, I feel like a little bit just driving out. It's because of those disciplines, because we're talking about these things, because, we are reading the Bible daily, like we're in the Word. We're just surrounding ourselves with His goodness. We're praying for His protection on our family, for Him to cover us, for Him to guide us. It's because of those things that we're able to not have that weight gain, let's call it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the things that keep this, the little things you do every single day. I can't remember if we were talking about on this podcast or just before, but you were saying it was the death by 1,000 cuts is what was ruining your marriage, right? And all those things. But it's also, you can win by 1,000 little blessings every single day, right? Like You're not going to change your marriage because one day you told your wife, hey, thank you so much for being for everything you're doing. You affirm her, right? That one time ain't going to do too much. You do that 1,000 times, it changes it. You pair that with 1,000 days of reading the Bible in a row. You pair that with 52 weeks a year of Sabbathing. You pair that with 52 weeks of fasting one day a week. You pair that with being a part of men's group for 52 weeks. You pair that with all those different things. All of those things are little small things that will add up to big things. You'll get to know the Father's heart. And because you know the Father's heart, you'll find the purpose for your life. You find the purpose for your life. You know where you're headed. You know where you're headed. Your wife will follow you. But if you don't do that, your wife will not follow you, because where are you actually even going? And this is what frustrates me, is so many men have no idea the purpose of life. That's why so many men get to a midlife midlife crisis. Majority of men get to a midlife crisis because they think that the purpose of life is to be a good man, provide financially for your family, raise good kids, save for retirement, and get to heaven by, because you got baptized when you were young. That's the purpose of life.
Boy, does that sound familiar. I mean,
that's majority of people's
right.
life, right? How'd that work out for you?
Exactly.
Not good.
Not good.
But when it was like there was somebody in the program, a newer guy, right, or whatever, and he was saying this week, and I put out a post. I don't have my Bible here, and it was in the. It's not in. It won't be in that one because it's in the leadership as the excerpt.
Yeah.
But basically, in the excerpt of, I'm going through Ecclesiastes right now. So good, guys. I promise you, if guys go read Ecclesiastes and listen to Solomon talk about, it's all meaningless. All the sex, meaningless. All the money, meaningless. All the things, meaningless. Everything is meaningless because he did that to try to fill his hole, and he had just holes in his cup, and it just kept going through. But it was talking about in the excerpts of one of the things, it said that the two things that he sees in leaders, not Solomon, but the John Maxwell breakdown, was number one is that they have a God-sized hole that's missing from their heart, so they're trying to fill it, and then it's a vacuum that's not getting filled, and then they have a life-sized vacuum that's in their life that's not filled with mission. So if you can fill your heart with God, like really know God, guys, I'm talking going to church and praying isn't getting it done, guys. That's not it.
I will attest to that all day long. We were in church, Sundays and Wednesdays every day, praying at dinner time. It's a lot more than that, guys. A lot more than
that's
that.
It's not right. That's barely a relationship.
It was a box check.
Totally.
You can't check the box.
And God doesn't want a relationship with somebody who just comes and hears that and then goes, but doesn't live his life for why he created you to be able to do this. Like, no, I created you to go do these things. And if you're not doing what he created for you for, you're being disobedient. No different than if our kids and we say, go clean the dishes. And then they basically go, say hi, Dad. I see you're home from work, and they go back to your room. That's what we're doing when we're going to church. Say hi, Dad, and then we go back to our room. It's like, no, but I need you to do this, this, and this, and because of that. But when we fill our life with that God-sized thing and really get a deep, deep, deep relationship with Him,
posture for it.
Yes. Just as you were saying earlier, you got this fire all of a sudden inside of you. Like, whoa, what is this? I want more of this and all that. Then that's giving you your guys' life mission. Guys, Paul is out here because him and his wife are talking about selling their house and moving somewhere and leaving his career and doing that. You think that's safety for his wife? You think that's his? She feels more safe in that than when he had a job bringing home a nice paycheck. Why? Because she knows he's following God, and the heart posture and the fire coming out of Paul is so contagious that now she has this contagious fire too. That's all she wants. She ain't tripping on no paycheck or anything. She's tripping on, I just want this, what my husband has. Right. I love what I'm feeling like. We'll give that to our kids. No, for wherever we're going to live, I know God will provide, and that'll be what it is.
We have a mission. We know where it is we're going, and she's able to follow that. Like, we know we want to serve God. We know we want to go out and create disciples. We know that we want to make sure our kids grow up to know God. We know what it is we're fighting for together there because we have the right heart posture for it. I'm showing those things, like I'm being obedient. We talk and pray for that all the time, just an unrelenting obedience to God's word and asking for just the wisdom, the clarity, and the discernment to hear Him. And that comes through, sometimes he might speak to you in a dream. He might speak to some guys through songs, through solitude time, something like that. You got to give Him that opportunity to answer. You can't just pray for it and then, go about your day. You got to give Him, time to speak to you. And that's where solitude time, I think, really comes in.
Sometimes it's a podcast. Right? Because sometimes it is through other people that I hear it through, right? Then I'm like, whoa, that's an answer to a prayer. Or it's something that I'm kind of feeling. And then you say something, I'm like, dude, that's confirmation. We're going through something in High Level Husband right now where we're massively just like taking it on steroids to new levels. And you gave me a word of confirmation. Dude, I had this dream the other night and da-da-da-da. And I was like, bro, like da-da-da. And it's confirmation. God speaks through these things. But when He speaks, guys, an answered prayer isn't always going to be, hey, go around this corner and there's a bag of money. And an answered prayer isn't all of a sudden your wife's submissive to you. An answered prayer is going to have you do something that's going to require faith. And because of that, though, you're going to stack up so many receipts that you just believe and trust God so much that you will leave your job, that you will go do these things. What did He say to all the apostles? Follow me.
Right.
Leave your boats. Follow me. Told the rich young ruler, sell everything, follow me. Now the rich young ruler didn't go do it.
I was about to bring that up. I was like, you see what happens when he didn't do it. And some people will walk away for their worldly things, and you have to be willing to give that up. And that's that's tough. I mean, that's something that just did not make sense. I mean, I was a Dave Ramsey guy when I first joined in here, like all about this, it was all about, the money and saving up for retirement. And well, I got to have this paycheck because we have to do this. And you know what? Why am I not trusting God to provide? Why am I not trusting that he's going to provide for me, that he's going to provide for my family? And if he can trust me with this little bit, how much more is he going to trust me with? How much more is he going to give me than what I ask for?
Yeah, opportunities.
The opportunity, as long as I'm surrendered, as long as I'm following, as long as I'm asking for things from the heart that's in accordance with his will, not going out and asking, hey, God, I need to win the lottery real quick so I can go out and do this stuff. It's just saying, God, I trust you to help me find a way to do these things to help better serve you.
Yeah.
And then saying yes to those opportunities.
Yep.
And with that, that's another just something great that my wife sees me doing. It's like, man, look at him going out here, being all obedient and just like fully surrendered to Christ. I can get on board with that. I can follow that.
She also sees your character change because your countenance change, everything in you change, that she sees it, right? Because we can tell him always, that's why I always say see, hear, feel, right? We can tell them, if all we're doing is telling, they're never going to feel it. They got to see you doing these things, right? And so that's become special in those moments. And just you talking about obedience, I was in Ecclesiastes, like I said, I've been in it right now, last night, and it hit me because it's some things that we're like doing some bold things right now. Same thing. I think this is going to be a word for you right here, bro.
Right.
Ecclesiastes 5:4 says this: when you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow.
And that's scary and exciting.
It is.
It is.
He's saying, here's this an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do it? It's like a basketball game. If the coach is like, Paul, I believe in you. You can take the shot at the end of the game. He draws up the play, and then they pass it to you, and then you pass.
Right.
And he's like, no, I wanted you. And then the dude misses it. And then they do it again. Paul, like, no. And you're like, okay, I'll take it next time. Please give me another opportunity. They pass you the ball at the end of the game. You pass it again. Eventually, he's going to drop the play without you in it. Mm-hmm. And then now that's what God will do in it, because that's what he did in the parable of the talents. He took it from the bottom, last guy, and gave it to somebody else. Jeremiah, same thing in there. He took something from somebody else, gave it to somebody else. People go, well, that's not nice. That's what God says. And God's not just a guy who wants to reward people for doing nothing. When he says do it, do it. And then when you do it, good things happen. You become this person that's just like, whoa, you believe that you can walk on water. You believe that you can move mountains, to raise people from the dead, to heal people, to do all these other stuff. You start believing these things.
You do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. You see him trusting you with that little bit, and you get these little wins, and you start stacking those up. And I mean, that's just what really grows your faith, grows your excitement. It's what builds that fire. I mean, that's what I felt like, leaving the marriage advance. It's just like that flame got lit, and it's like, I'm starting to understand. Like, that's what I felt like. Whatever this is, I want to grow it. I want to feed it. I want more of it. Give me more of that. And that's where I started getting these releases from, just these worldly things that were just tying me down to the place I was and not allowing God to move me in the direction he wanted me to go. It was, there's several other examples. I don't want to make it all about me, but I mean,
you're here for that. You're the guest.
So I had an opportunity to go to South Carolina for a job to leave. And it was back during, we'll call it our wilderness period. It's while Ashley was working downtown, getting up 4 a.m. Just, it was a bad time in our life. It started out okay, but it is what really it became the powder keg. She wanted out of it. She wanted me to tell her to quit. And this guy called me up and said, hey, we're trying to hire an environmental manager at a paper mill up here in South Carolina. We talked about going to South Carolina. My sister lived up there. And so it's like, all right, I'll talk. And, did this. Phone interviews went well, went up on site. And I was like, man, I've got this job. I know I've got this down. We're going to be moving. And she's back there going, yes, because she saw it as an escape from the problem. I saw it as an escape from the problem. And we drove around this town that we were looking at moving to up in Fort Mill, and just like we'd go through these neighborhoods, and it's odd because nothing ever really felt like home. Like we never saw that place. We had a realtor we were trying to work with, all that, and just it didn't work. And no, we're going to find a place. We were just going to try and force it
in, yeah,
and come back home. And it was like radio silence from the company for a while, and then suddenly they found someone else to go take that role, and it all just kind of got wiped away. And looking back at it, that was us trying to fix our problems by running from it. And God was allowing us to go that out, but he took that opportunity from us. He never allowed us to feel planted there, because we weren't surrendered. We weren't ready to make that move. We weren't ready to do those things. We were just trying to run from those problems.
Mm.
And I've talked in a circle to the point I don't remember where I was going back to at this point. But it's just one of those crazy things where, it's easy to look back and realize like you have to be open to God. You have to be willing to move when he says move and not do things your ways. That it's going to be according to his will, not your will. And, there might be something that it looks good to begin with, but is it in accordance with him? And that's what Ashley and I are trying to figure out. Like, what is in God's will? Like, we weren't asking that question back then. We are just like, yeah, this feels good. And both of us thought it felt good because we were just trying to escape the problem. We are like, all right, fresh change. And that wasn't it. That was like, hey, you're supposed to go to Nineveh. No, I'm going to head the opposite direction.
Yeah.
God will bring you back.
You might as well just do it his way in the beginning, because doing it your way will always prolong the process and never be enjoyable in it as aspects. And so it's just, might as well just do it and see what does happens. I see that in so many people, right? The line I always is you can, address your issues in this marriage, or you'll address them in the next.
Right.
But just divorcing your wife here, or your wife divorcing your husband here, isn't going to make your problems go away. You still have your problems that are going to be in you, that will be and arise in the next things. Sure, there'll be the excitement of a new couple, or in a new city. Sure, it's like there's new things and all of that. But if you don't internally change, the external things will. That's why I always say the external things will never change the things of the internal. But when you fix the internal things, the external things take care of themselves. Right. So we can go to a new city all we want. People are going to go like, well, Tommy, you moved to Vegas and it changed your life. It did, but we literally wiped our life clean of all of our habits, friends, and ways of life, developed them new here, and went all in on the new versions of ourselves. We just didn't continue with our same habits. Oh, we got here and we just, we're drinking beer still, and we were doing these other things, and we were still not, no, we had to develop a new person. So yes, moving can be a good thing if you, one, it's of God's will, and two, you're going to use that to continue to grow and advance in yourself. If you don't do that, it's going to be the same results, whether you're in Abu Dhabi or you in Alabama. It's going to be the exact same results.
Exactly. And that's something important to remember too, is, not everybody's story is going to look the same. For you, it was like, okay, you moved, but your changes were different. What God had planned for your life was a lot different than what he has planned for mine and Ashley's life. Yeah. It's not like we're just going to have to like run away from something that's just really bad or anything like that. But it's just a matter of asking God, what does he want us to do? And that's going to be the same in other guys' lives. And to your point about, you can address your problems now, or you can address it in the next marriage. Even if divorce is on the table or separation or something like that, you don't just give up and say, well, it's over and I'm just going to wait for the next thing. That's when you just, absolutely dig in and you start fighting and you start asking, what am I doing wrong? What is it God needs me to do? Like, that is when, you're looking for that armor of God and just putting in that work of, what is it I'm missing? What is it that she used to see in me? What is it that she's not seeing in me? And looking for those things. And maybe it restores your marriage. Maybe you're not separated anymore. Maybe it ends in divorce, but you're still going to be that better person. You're going to be somebody that people look at and says, what does that guy have? I want to be like that guy. And if you take that into the next marriage, how much better is that?
Yep.
Rather than taking what doomed you here into that next one and going, all right, I'll fix it now. And that's what we were looking at doing. With potentially moving up to South Carolina, it was like taking this and we were going to move it up here with no changes and go, we'll fix it here. It was never going to work. And God knew it, and he saved our butts.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. It's so good. Jump on it now, guys. Fix it. Because it frustrates me when guys are like, oh, well, it's separated over. It's like, or we have guys that have been messaging or it's like getting on a consultation to see, go through our selection process to see if they're a fit to bring them into the program. And they're like, well, she actually filed for divorce today, so there's no need. And it's like, bro, you're still the same person.
You're missing the entire point.
Yes, bro. But that's what's crazy is you don't believe in God. Literally, how did the apostles feel when Jesus died on the cross? And they were like, were we wrong? Was he wrong? He's dead. Oh my God. They were heartbroken. They didn't know 3 days later he'd rise from the dead. And then they would be mind blown, right? Even if the divorce papers are signed, she moves out, she starts dating somebody else, she marries somebody else. If God wants to bring this marriage back together, and if you are fully committed, you become who you become. Not says you're just trying to win her back. You become who you become. And then now God's like, now you're ready. I can give you that blessings now because you're ready for them, but he will not give them to you before you're ready for them. And if it's not of his will, as you're talking about, why do you think Jesus, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, Father, please take this from me. Can you take this from me if it is in your will?
Right.
But if it's not your will, I'm going to go get nailed to this tree.
I'm getting nailed to the cross.
Yes. Guys, if it's not the Father's will, be willing to get nailed to a cross. Be willing to take the insults. Jesus took the insults. Are you willing to take the insults from your wife and be able to just weather the storm as you're going through this process? But if you can't weather the storm with the insults, you'll never become the person that she can actually respect, because she's going to strike like a rattlesnake during that process.
And I mean, you got to be ready for her to be that person. Like, are you just going to keep looking at her and saying, it's your fault?
Yeah.
Why aren't you changing? Are you going to be that person, or are you going to take that ownership? Or are you going to start, being, okay, I'm going to pick up my cross and carry it regardless? You're not, well, she filed for divorce, I'm done. It's the wrong mentality. I mean, that's honestly weak. That's not wanting to address the issues. And it's not about focusing on the marriage. It's the high level husband. You're focusing on a husband. What is it you should be? Who is it that God wants you to be? And it's God himself. And then you let the marriage sort itself out. Otherwise, if you just keep saying, well, it's her fault and I'm just going to keep trying to fix her, it's never going to work. You're going to take your problems from one place to the next. You're going to delay the inevitable down the road even further, or you're going to drive them further away.
One of the two.
Right.
Your wife's silence, your wife's anger, your wife's frustration, your wife's no intimacy are all just cries for help, saying something is wrong. It's like in our body, if we have a pain, we don't go, then let me drink a beer because I want to get this the pain to stop in my knee, or I go take a Vicodin to try to get the pain to stop. Yeah, you're getting the pain to stop for a few hours in those things. It's an alarm going off in your body saying something's wrong with my knee, fix it. That's what pain is. Your wife's pain is an alarm for you to hear, for you to go, this is not normal. I am the cause in this. And even if I didn't cause all of her pain, God gave her to me to be the one to help her grow from that pain. You can't fix it like you say you're doing, but by you becoming who you become, you develop an anointing. The Holy Spirit grows up in you so much. I think it's in Matthew where it talks like that will transfer to other people. Your anointing will transfer to other people. Your spirit will come off. It's why people were trying to rub on Peter and things like that and then take it to other people to heal them. Because of his anointing of those things, but he was also the one who denied Christ. You are denying that it's your process, that it's you are the results right now, that you're the problem. When you accept that is in those aspects, not because you're a bad man, but because you don't know, when your anointing rolls up, it will transfer to your wife. I have a lukewarm, docile wife in the past. Diane is the farthest thing from that nugget. I didn't get lucky, and she just happened to change at 39 years of age. She just decided one day, you know what? I think I'm just going to become this new person.
Just going to become this awesome person.
Yeah. Just randomly. The same thing we're watching happening in Ashley and in yourself. And we've seen countless times with so many other people. It doesn't just randomly happen. It goes because of intentionality of seeking. That's why God doesn't say just randomly find me. He says, seek. And you will find.
And that's what I had to do. I had to seek it out. Like I remember when I first ran across High Level Husband, I was literally just sitting down on the couch. I had my Bible out. I had read. Oddly enough, Ecclesiastes was the first book I ever read. Sidebar there. But I was just, scrolling through Instagram, and it's like, okay, well, here's this. And it's not that, I was just randomly like, I knew I needed to do something. I had told Ashley in one of my biggest moments of pain, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something different. And I know she didn't believe me because I had said it before and I didn't do it. I had to seek those answers. I had to go seek wise counsel. I had to find something that was going to work because I didn't know how to do it. And I think sometimes too, and this is probably worth hitting on, is guys don't know what they're supposed to do. They don't know how it's supposed to be done. You have to learn it from somewhere. I mean, God can teach it to you. You can learn it on your own. I'm not saying that's impossible, But for me, just I had all these things ingrained in me over the course of, 40 years, basically, that I didn't know what to do. And when I got into the high level husband program and started walking through that, suddenly things started making sense. I had something I could walk through. I had some way to start putting those pieces in an order that made sense, where it's like, okay, identifying those holes in myself. What is I need? I have this God sized hole. How do I fix me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had to work on first. And I mean, that came with a lot of, man, I don't want to do this. It came with a whole lot of that when it came to, just like, confessing sins, bringing all that out into the open. And, it's just crazy that, I watched how God used that to bring a couple together, really. I mean, it was the start, me like confessing the whole, like porn and masturbation and all that. And that's what separated us for a while. I mean, like, she took it bad, man. I thought my marriage was over. And it wasn't. God had prepared us to that point, had us in the Word, reading, had read together. But what he taught us in that moment was we needed him first. And almost at the exact same time, just in passing in the hallway, she looks at me and says, I put you in a position you were never going to succeed. I had you on a pedestal. And I was like, I had you on one too. He broke us apart to where we had to focus on him and on ourselves, and not to focus on the marriage, and for me to focus on her and her to focus on me. And that's what really started leading to that change. That's where I was like, hey, there is a process to this. There's these things I've been doing wrong, and holding myself accountable to it, and just realizing that, man, I've just been carrying around all of this. I've been saying, I'll fix it, hiding like God's not going to see it. I'm not going to have to answer for this one day. And you can make all these 1,000 little changes, and it starts filling that God-sized hole, and you start becoming a different person. You start being seen in a different light. I mean, I've had people come up to me that I've known from 10 years living in Trustful that they just say, I can see there's something different about you. I can see you're acting different. And it is because I'm not carrying these loads anymore. I'm not being a man and sucking it up anymore. Like, I'm a real man now that is vulnerable. I will talk about my feelings. I'll talk about the hard stuff. I'm not just going to hold it in and be like, it's just my job to provide and keep her happy. No, try that, dude. Doesn't work. You have to seek God. You have to use him to change you before it's going to change anything else. Like, you don't even worry about your marriage or anything. Like, that's what I learned, is it wasn't about her. It was about me. It was about changing myself and letting that be the focus. And the better I could make myself, the better she became, because it took those burdens away from her.
Amen. I had so much I wanted to say on the back of that, but let's just end it right there, bro.
Right.
That's so good, bro. It's just been such an honor to be able to witness that, guys. See, that's why we have to end, because the alarm's going off. It's just an honor to watch what's happening, and to watch what's happening in Ashley as well. And it's just going to be cool to have a front row seat to what God's going to keep doing with all of you guys, with you and her and your family. But then, guys, I just want you guys to just know that this is available for everybody. It was available for me and Diane, and I didn't think it was, right. And here we are. I did not want to be a marriage coach, and then a husband coach, and a leadership coach, and all these other things, a speaker. I had none of it. But God took me because of my obedience and put me where he created me to be. He's going to do the same thing for every single one of you guys. And so just take pause to this. He's not the only one that's ever happened to this. We have a ton of people that this happens to, but you got to be coming and willing and do this. And when you start taking ownership, I promise you, your wife will do the same thing of what Ashley did right there in this moment of saying, hey, I put you in this. Where now, guess what? She recognized her fault in it as well. She started taking ownership, but Paul didn't have to say, this is your fault.
I never pointed it out. All the things that have come out, she was able to
on
do
her
on
own. And that's when it becomes awesome, because then she takes the power on herself. You took the power back in yourself, and two powerful people pulling in one direction is a couple that's doing amazing. I can't remember the Bible verse, right? It's like one sets a flight to 1,000 or something like that, and two sets a flight to 10,000. It's something like that, right? So it's like two together send like it 10x's what one can do on their own, right? And so that's what you guys are doing. It's like, guys, that's how you get your wife. You're like, she needs to take ownership. Yeah. let her get to such a safe space where she feels she can do that, because you're such a rock in the right areas that she'll get to that spot. And don't do it just so she can get to that spot, because she'll never get to that spot.
Can't do it for her.
Nope. So guys, we got to end. We got to get out of here. We're getting to a Bible study because we live this life. This ain't
Absolutely.
a joke.
That was great, man.
So cool, Paul. Love you, brother. Thanks for being on here. Too, cool. All right, guys. If this impacted you guys, please rate this episode 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. Or if you're interested in coaching, click the link below. Much love.
Come on and join us.